listening to STAGR Cast, brought to you by STAGR Gear.
Welcome back to another episode of STAGR Cast. It's been a minute since we've done one of these. We were trying to be better with uploads during deer season, but the last 2 weeks have been crazy. We actually were going to do an episode when we were in Maine. Was that the second week, Greg?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm sitting down here with Greg tonight, just Greg and I. And we're going to do a little update. But yeah, we were going to give you an update the second week of the season there in Maine, but we ran into some computer issues when we were up there. Couldn't get them solved. But
we ran into some attitude issues too.
Yeah.
We were we were pretty tired and pretty run down.
Yeah. It was a hot first couple weeks up there. And, well, it was New Hampshire the first week and then Maine. The first 2 weeks were tough for a lot of guys, not just us.
Big time.
Yeah, so we were in New Hampshire the whole first week of the season, and then we were in Maine the second week, and just toiling around up there in the heat and
yeah, man,
making the most of it. But since then, so I mean, today's the 22nd of November. A lot of stuff's happened since we were in New Hampshire that first week. We got some deer on the ground and a lot of stories and a lot of good experiences so far this season that we're going to talk about today and on the next couple episodes. I think we're going to do probably 2 or 3 of these updates and kind of release them here every couple days.
For sure.
Just get everybody caught back up. There's still a lot of season left till the end if you're muzzleloader hunting in mass and stuff. But for now, we'll talk about the first 2 weeks and we'll talk about the first couple days of the Vermont season, if that sounds good with you, Greg.
Yeah, that's fine with me. Yep. Yeah,
so New Hampshire, first week. It was cold those first couple mornings and stuff. And then it get hot during the day, and we had some really good bucks on camera down in New Hampshire.
Big time.
And spoiler alert, Greg ended up getting one of them, but we're going to talk about that buck on the next episode because you just got him. Anyways, but yeah, those first 2 weeks in New Hampshire, I kind of noticed right on. It was the same for you, Greg. The first week, I was surprised with the amount of scrapes and rubs and activity I was seeing in New Hampshire, regardless of the heat. There was, where I was at least, they were laying down scrapes and stuff everywhere, it seemed like.
Big time. And it's like the sightings didn't match with what we were seeing for sign, you know?
No, it was you'd go in a spot in the morning and there'd be pile of scrapes from the night before. You walked through the day before, there was nothing. You walk in there in the morning and it just completely torn up. But just with that heat, I think it was all nighttime activity and stuff. Yeah,
for sure. You had one with a double main beam you were after there for
double split brow.
Or double split brow. I'm sorry.
It's like an 8-inch split brow tine on the left side, and like a 6-inch split brow on the other side. And he's still alive as far as I know. Definitely going to get after him if we get some snow. I was actually down there yesterday because I thought the snow would be a little bit better down there, but it wasn't. It was just crunchier than hell, so I had to go up north. But yeah, I think he's still alive, and I look forward to chasing after him. But that was my target buck for that first week while we were down there. Yeah. He's got a huge foot on him. You could see him all over that mountainside laying scrapes down and rubbing trees and everything, and had some good pictures of him on camera and been watching him and stuff. But it just never seemed to line up. I think I see that first week? What I see? I saw a spike horn the second day of the season on one of those hot days, and then later in that week, towards the end of the week, I went to a slightly different area, a little bit farther south, where there was actually some acorns kicking around. That a spot I found in the spring, but there were some acorns kicking around there, and I actually walked up on a basket rack that was bedded just off the side of a ridge up there. And with that heat, I think I was telling you, I don't think that deer had moved in like 3 or 4 days when I had jumped that thing. So he was laying like right next to this trickle, had water, and it was like on this little shelf, like I don't know, it's probably like a 15-foot little shelf just on the side of this ridge. And I don't think that deer had moved because he had like 3 beds right there that were like right down, packed to nothing. There was one scrape on that little ledge, and that 10 by 10 area where he was just hanging out was just covered in shit. I literally don't think he had moved for.
He had everything he needed.
The trickle and just sitting there and waiting out the heat, and I think that's.
So you were seeing animals though right off the bat.
A little bit, not as much as you would want to, but it was a grind. It was some days I'd be putting on the miles, and then some days I did a couple all day sits and stuff. But
so yeah, we had how many days, and then we headed to Maine. We had probably
that whole week,
pretty much a whole week of muzzleloader, New Hampshire.
Yeah, and, Saturday to Saturday, and then
we never hunted together. You were kind of doing your thing. I was doing my thing. I was after one deer in particular.
Yeah, we were both chasing those big ones around.
Yeah.
Did you see anything that first week, or did you?
Oh my
I
God.
knew you got some pictures and stuff that had you fired up, but.
So we're going to get into a little foreshadowing here because the buck I'm after is nicknamed Gandalf, and I've been after him for since 2020, and I hadn't got a picture of him since like December 15th of last year, and I didn't get proof of life all summer, and I was kind of getting depressed.
Didn't you have you had one picture with huge bases in the spring, though,
yeah,
right?
but I couldn't verify, you know. So
had to be.
So anyway, so like we're coming in, and there's no acorns, and I'm like, I can't find anything, you know, to suggest that he's there. So I went up. I was up on top of the mountain and kind of in a little saddle, and just happened to have the GoPro running, and went down over the saddle and found a fresh scrape. And I was like, wow, that's something. There's a buck on this mountain. So, and then there was a rub right next to it, and my game camera was literally a foot to the right. And I was like, wow, he must have walked by there. So lo and behold, I checked the camera, and it's Gandalf, and he in all of his glory, and he's alive. And went down in my other spot, which is like a big bowl. I just hunt terrain features there pretty much because on a normal year, the whole place is acorns. I mean, it's just literally you can't even take a step. So like they're everywhere, but the deer are everywhere, but they're nowhere. So so went down to my other spot. There was a scrape there, and Gandalf was there, and I'm like, oh my God, he's here. But there's literally no other deer here. So I spent that whole first week just like, well, you know, I had to work some, but I spent the whole first week just trying to like narrow him down, and I didn't see a deer the whole week. And then it got warm and it got depressing, and everybody I know was like, you just need to put all your time into him, and the hell with Maine, the hell with Vermont. But we got a bunch of good bucks on camera in Maine, and we were looking forward to going. And I'm like, I'm going to Maine for 4 days, and I'm going to come back.
We needed a change of pace in the worst way after that first week in New Hampshire.
Big time. So you went up to Maine a day before me.
Did I?
And
yeah, I went up the night before just to check some cameras and stuff.
So you done talking New Hampshire? Can we go to Maine now?
Yeah, if you want to go to New Hampshire. Yeah.
So we get there, right? And we get this Airbnb and walk in, and it's a really nice place. And me and Adam are having a drink, and I'm like, this isn't half bad. I said I've stayed in some bad places that are full of mice. And then Adam's like, hold on a minute. He goes, something happened last night. And I'm like, okay, what happened? He goes, I think there was a mouse nest under my pillow, but I might have been dreaming. And I'm like, what the fuck? You don't remember? So he goes and starts rifling through the garbage. And at the bottom of the garbage was this mouse nest. Yeah. And he goes, you were sleeping and you like slid your hand under it and got a handful of seeds and crap and everything else. So
I forgot about that.
Oh yeah. So right away I'm on red alert because I'd rather wrestle a black bear than touch a mouse. So I pull out the couch, and there's like, looks like somebody dumped a thing of seeds under the couch, and I pull out the blanket, and a half pound of seeds fall out of the blankets, and I'm like, oh God. So
yeah, no, I was in like, I remember that was the night before you got there. Yeah, it was just me there, and I almost thought it was a dream because it was like I was in a deep sleep haze of trunking around New Hampshire for a week, smoked, and then I was because I think it was you brought it up. You were like, oh, I remember the mice at the last place we stayed at, like 2 years before that. Oh, yeah. And then I was like, wait a minute. But yeah. No,
I'll tell you the worst. Can I just tell one quick little story first? Yeah. So the first year I went up to Maine, I stayed at my Uncle Randy's camper. And unbeknownst to me, in the cabinets right at like 6 inches above where I was sleeping, he had this like heavy-duty rat poison up there. And the place, as soon as you turn the lights off at night, it was like a mouse superhighway. So you'd have to like, and I'm talking piss-soaked mattresses and nasty. You'd have to drink 6 beers to even work the courage up to go into the camp.
Oh no shit.
So, all that week I wasn't feeling good up in the woods. I kept having to drop my trousers in the woods.
That's never good.
And I'm like, something's wrong. Like I don't feel good. And I think me and my buddy Sean were up there, and he was having the same issues. And I'm like, I think we ruined a whole mountainside. There hasn't even been any deer up there since. So we're like sick all week long, got stomach issues, and then we find out he's got this freaking industrial strength rat poison like right above our head all week. We must have been like breathing that in or something, but Anyway, so this cabin still was a Taj Mahal compared to that. But.
Oh, it was a good Airbnb. Yeah, other than the mice nest, it was beautiful in there. I'd stay there again.
Definitely. I'd go up there right now if I didn't have to work.
Little mice, yeah. I don't think anybody been there that week before us. I think that's why there was a nest or whatever that was, like a little food ball up underneath my pillow.
We're making it sound worse than it is.
No,
it wasn't
good.
that bad.
Yeah, we toughed it out. It was a good week up there, as good as it could be.
Oh yeah. So like Adam and I are different types of hunters. Adam's like a roamer and I'm like a sitter. So the first day I had this scrape, I had a camera on it all summer, got probably close to 1,000 pictures all summer, different bucks, big bucks. So I'm ready to just sit. I'm going to sit on that scrape all week and I'm going to just tough it out.
Hot. It was a hot scrape.
Yep. And so the first day was it was wicked. The woods were, it was windy as hell. And it was warm, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah, it was like 60, I think, that first day.
So we set a little bit, and then we teamed up, and me and Adam commenced doing a walkabout that was almost killed me, but that is the most buck sign I've ever seen in a day in my entire life. If we didn't see, I don't know, 300 scrapes.
I think we were trying to calculate how many that was. It was insane. I've never seen, it was just, that block of woods is unbelievable, the amount of buck sign.
Man. We were on red alert all day. It was just, we thought we were going to run into a buck at any. In hindsight 2020, I think maybe they were in the thick stuff because of the wind that day, and we just didn't. We must have walked by some.
Had to have. We covered some ground. I think. What did we do? Probably. I know I did. I think I did like 14 miles that day. I think you did about 12.
I did about 12. Like 2 o'clock, I had, what was it? You'd say a couple miles out of the woods.
Yeah, at least a couple miles. We were all the way out on that at the end of the day there.
Yeah, and I pride myself on 10,000 steps a day, right? Yeah. So I think I'm on like 25,000 or whatever, or maybe not that many, but it's 2 o'clock and I got 2 miles out of the woods, and I texted Adam and I'm like, if I don't leave right now, I'm not gonna make it. So I start limping out, and I could feel my legs starting to cramp up, and next thing you know, they both locked up solid on me. So I'm laying on the ground motionless. And I'm like, please go away. And if a buck walked by right then, I wouldn't have been able to shoot it. But so I get up and I just nursed it all the way out of the woods. And I made it out of the woods and walking down probably a mile to go. And Adam comes skipping by me like he's like fresh as a daisy. What's the matter with you?
Yeah. So. Yeah. When I went up there on that Sunday, checked that. I had a camera out a little farther, out close to where we were hunting that day, and there was multiple bucks on that. A lot of great bucks, some real heavy ones out there,
big ones. Yeah.
But it seemed like that week we were up there, I don't know if it was the heat again or what it was. They kind of cooled off that week because all those scrapes that we had found that were made and stuff. They didn't seem to reopen. There's only a couple that were reopened and stuff.
Yep. That Tuesday night. Big Sexy walked by my camera and gave us a bunch of hope.
Yeah, and for those that don't know the story on Big Sexy, we talked about him in a podcast.
Yeah,
it was the biggest 4-pointer you ever seen in your life, over 200 pounds last year. Well, he's been in there this is his third year in there now.
Yep. And
he was just a big 4 the last 2 years, like a giant 4-pointer. And then we were up there was it Tuesday?
Yep, Tuesday night. Yep.
Tuesday night. We get a picture. A picture came through the one cell camera we have way out there, and sure enough, here he was. We had a picture of him in May.
Yep.
On that one thing, and he didn't look good.
No.
He had you could tell he had a rough winter. He was down to bones in May, and
he still didn't look great.
He still didn't look.
And he was only a 3-pointer.
I don't think he's going to survive.
No.
If he survives this one, I was hoping we were going to get a crack at him that week, because I don't know how old that deer is, but that deer literally has to be.
Yeah.
Is that deer 10? He's got to be at least 10 years old. I swear to God, that thing is so old looking.
He looks more like a cow's body than a deer.
It doesn't even look right. He's just all bone, just big bone structure. But yeah, so you got a picture of him Tuesday.
So then I made up my mind. I'm sitting on that scrape. So that's what I did pretty much the rest of the week. We did some other stuff, but it was frustrating. By Thursday, I was pretty dejected. I understand it takes a long time, and it only takes a second for your whole season to turn around. But you have Maine in your head all year, and you just think of all the magical stuff that could happen, and then you get up there and the reality doesn't match what you're expecting. So
yeah. And for clarification too, Big Sexy, he was no longer a 4-pointer this year.
Yeah.
He was
barely a 3.
Barely a 3-pointer, like the biggest spike horn plus an extra 2 inches of fork, but massive Maine beams, just old and
But to put it in perspective, his son, Little Sexy.
Yeah, he showed up.
Big old 4-pointer, but younger deer. Probably talking 160 to 175.
He's probably only a 2.5-year-old deer. But.
And his whole body is visible in the picture, and Big Sexy's head is missing. So that's how much taller he was than that little.
Yeah, because they're both looking up at the licking branch on that scrape, and Little Sexy and Big Sexy.
Yeah,
there's so many deer. It was a tough week. We were around them all week, just couldn't seem to line one up. I think I saw 8 deer total that week. I saw 3 down by the rig one day when I was coming out. I saw, what did I see that week? I'm trying to think. Oh, one day you and I we went up way up in some high country, way up towards the border. And there's this whole mountaintop. Greg was going in on the left side of it, and I was going to go in on the right side of it, way down, probably like 3-4 miles apart, and just work that top. It was one of those hotter days, and see if we could kick something towards each other. And I was creeping across the top of that mountain, right up in the thick stuff. There's moose trails through it, which are beautiful. You can see down the moose trails away, but off to the sides and stuff you can't. And I was working down that mountaintop, and I was about halfway down it. And just as I was the whole way down, I'm thinking, like, if I just get off the edge a little bit, you can see, because right off the top down to the left side there, some pretty open woods, mixed hardwoods and softwoods, but you can see pretty good down there once you get off the edge a little bit. So the whole time I'm up there, I'm like, and the sun was hitting that side of the mountain. So I'm like, I wonder if there's something to be laying on that mountainside, in the sun, hanging out. And I was thinking for literally like probably a mile, I'm like, I should probably drop off the edge just a little bit, get out of these moose trails where I can see a little bit more. And finally, I'm like, all right, I'm going to drop down like 20, 30 yards off the edge. And so I'm going down the moose trail, I drop off. And as soon as I drop down the bank 30 yards, I catch something moving up, but literally just about 20 yards from where I dropped down the bank up, I see something stand up. And I see the ass of a deer. And then I look to the left, and I can see a little main beam sticking out, just a little forky, I think. But if I would have just stayed on that moose trail for literally, 5 more yards, I would have seen that deer. But like, what's the chance of as soon as I decide to drop off?
In miles of terrain.
Yeah, I was just right there, and then, of course, there's a deer right there. But that was towards the later part of the week, and at that point in the week, we were pretty frustrated, so that forky might have gotten it that day.
Well, if he went by me, he definitely would have gotten it.
Yeah, it was... we did some evening drinking that week because it was getting frustrating.
Day 1 and 2 we were biggest bucks in Maine Club only, and by Thursday I was a 3-inch horn.
I think a spike horn would have got it by the end of the week.
Yeah, so
praying for snow and just nothing in the forecast. We were just it's good to be hunting, obviously, but damn, 2 weeks in the heat, it messes with your mind. Yeah,
and then you're seeing social media will screw with your head too, because you're seeing everybody shooting hammers, but it's not everybody. It's a couple. It's like 50 guys out of the tens of thousands that are hunting that are getting big ones. Yeah. And you got to just keep that in perspective. So one of the coolest things we did that night was, was it Thursday night? We watched Rodney Elmer. He got a monster.
Yeah, that was
a
cool. We
watched that video on YouTube. That was awesome.
Yeah.
So
beautiful buck that was.
Yeah. But then we headed back to Vermont, and Saturday was the start of the season there.
Well, I think when we were leaving Maine, the weather was changing, right?
It was
starting to turn to looking like snow in the forecast and stuff, of course, after we'd been there for the whole week.
Yeah.
We did our work up there, though. I mean, we did everything we could do to try and get around deer up in Maine,
Yeah, when I walked out of the woods there, I wasn't... My head wasn't hanging because we left it all out there. We hunted every possible minute of every day.
Yeah. You and I are talking. I don't think there's anything I would have done differently. It just seemed like it was definitely the toughest week I had up in Maine on bare ground compared to other. You usually see more deer than that and stuff, but it just wasn't clicking. It seemed like because there was some colder weather, I think just before that first week, and I think that's got them going, dropping scrapes and everything like that. And then that heat came, and it kind of just seemed like it shut everything off. Because if you were to walk in those woods when we were up there, everything was just completely torn to hell, scrapes and rubs and everything. And then everything like shut off for that week.
For sure.
And it was hard to get on something. Saw a lot of beautiful country, just never really got into where we could see the deer that good. Saw some deer, but geez.
I'm going to try to make it up this weekend, Friday, Saturday, I got to attempt the trifecta.
Yeah.
I've got 2 states down. I need to get Maine off the list. So
I'm still trying to get one in New Hampshire, which I've had a couple of close calls the last couple of days. Just haven't been able to close the deal. Two real nice bucks the last 2 days in New Hampshire that I've been messing around with up in the whites, but we'll get one. We got plenty of time. I like that New Hampshire. That rifle season runs to into December.
Oh, yeah.
You're gonna get. We're gonna have another snowstorm here before that comes.
Yep, for sure.
Not looking like one for before the end of Maine here.
No.
Or for rifle at least. But
got the muzzle. Yeah, it's turning into rain now instead of snow.
yeah, it was looking
Friday.
promising, and it's warming up now. But up in the high country, I'm sure it'll be some stuff.
Yeah.
We'll be somewhere. We still got tags. We'll be somewhere.
Yeah. No.
I'll either be New Hampshire or Maine.
Massachusetts has got some, hammer bucks. And
Oh, yeah.
I got to go down there for work next month, so I might try to do a couple days down there too. So
yeah, I see one on was on Bow Hunt Mass, and then Pat Guyette from Hunt Suburbia there. He measured it or did like a quick measurement on the guys, and it was like 190 something inch buck.
Yep.
Like weird ass tine going off the right side. I see that. That thing's grow some wicked bucks down there. It's crazy. The racks that are coming out of Mass, and there's been a lot of real big ones this year out of Mass, and really everywhere. There's been some big bucks. Vermont's really growing some really big ones this year. I've seen Maine's growing some really big ones as always, and obviously New Hampshire as well.
Next year's going to be interesting with no mass crop in the woods in New Hampshire. I mean, what the deer, I can't imagine they're going to come out of the winter in good shape this year.
There isn't much food in the woods as far as mass crop stuff goes right now. Every deer I've seen so far this year seems to just be like snapping ferns and nipping buds and stuff there. But I mean, there's some heavy deer getting shot, but that lack of mass, there is not much food in the woods. I found like a couple spots in New Hampshire with acorns.
Yep.
I've yet to see a single beech nut in Vermont or New Hampshire or anywhere.
Same with me. I keep putting acorns in my mouth in New Hampshire and crunching on them. Well, I'm colorblind, so they're probably green by this time. But I put them in my mouth. I'm like, that looks fresh. I'll put it in my mouth and it just mush.
You actually put an acorn in your mouth?
Yeah, why not? It's a good scent cover too.
Can humans eat acorns?
They probably could.
Yeah, well, I guess everything else does. I just never
really
eat
a goddamn rock. It's just what's going to happen after.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
So then we went to Vermont.
Yeah, Vermont. Back to VT.
Let me tell my Vermont story first because yours is way more interesting.
Oh yeah. Did you have anything really going on camera in Vermont this year? You had a tough year.
No, I had a tough year with cameras, and I had a broken legged 8-pointer that I was really after, and he showed up a little bit, and then he sort of disappeared. So all I had was kind of small bucks on there, and so. I hunted the first weekend with my dad, and we did a lot of sitting. It was that first day was torrential rain. And I brought my umbrella out that hooks to the tree thinking I was really doing a stroke of business, but I was pretty much it was warm. It was like 60 out, but I think I had hypothermia when I went to the house.
First morning?
Yeah. So we sat all weekend, and I didn't see a deer all weekend. And I'm like, what? And now I'm just coming off a crappy week in New Hampshire, coming off a crappy week in Maine. And I say crappy, but we're still having a blast.
Crappy in terms of deer sightings.
Instead of deer sightings,
just hunting, yeah.
And I was brought up in Vermont and hunted tops my whole life, so I'm used to not seeing deer. But it doesn't hurt me that bad. But anyways, we're going into week 3 of nothing. And that first weekend, nothing. And it come Monday night, I had a bad day at work, and I'm like, the next buck I see is getting it. So unfortunately, a spike horn came out that night, and I filled my Vermont tag. So, but that ended up being a blessing in disguise because then now I got because I was planning on hunting Vermont half the day and then going after Gandalf the other half of the day. So that freed me up for New Hampshire and getting my mind clear and getting it focused on that one deer. So
I could tell you're gonna kill something that night. I talked to you that morning, and you were having a tough day. You had a lot of hate in you that day.
So maybe I'm cured of shooting spike horns now because immediately after shooting it, I'm like, why did you do that? But
you had a little video of that, didn't you?
I got the thing on video, and it's just
I don't know what
they're gonna show it in hunter safety classes of like this is the evolution of a hunter. This is when he turns from a killer to a hunter. So whatever.
You walking up to it, your first line. I don't know what to think. That was hilarious.
Yeah. So
I have to drop that clip. I don't know what to think.
I just don't know what to think. Yep. So. And then, so that was my Vermont rifle season.
What day was that?
That was Monday.
Monday, okay.
Yeah, and that's over D2 where you can shoot spikes legally.
Yeah.
And so then, I head back to work, and then all of a sudden we get some snow.
Yeah, that Tuesday night it started snowing, right?
Yeah. But you had some family good luck before then. You're always the type of guy that helps everybody else out, and your mom struck pay first, and
first
then,
morning,
yep.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, so we got back from Maine there, and I had a few nice bucks on camera, a few different areas, some stuff down low. I do a lot of hunting with my parents. My mom and my dad, they both hunt and try to put them on some deer every year. And had some bucks down low, closer to town where they like to hunt, and then had some real nice ones up in the mountains. And was excited to come back to Vermont and chase some stuff around because there was a lot of good pictures and seen some good stuff. And we come back that Saturday or that Friday night, and then Saturday morning it was torrential downpour, like you said. And I slept in a little bit that morning. I was a little tired. It was pouring like crazy till about, I think it was like 8 that morning. So I got up a little late, and I was like, I'm going to go creep up high up on the mountain and do some poking around and try to, catch one bedded or something. It was a warm day, but it was real quiet in the woods, windy. Mm-hmm. Trees were dripping, everything like that. I get up to where I go hunting up on one of the mountains around here, and there was 9 trucks in the parking lot, and I've never seen anybody there. I know like one other guy that hunts up there, and he was actually one of the trucks that was there, and he ended up getting a nice buck that day up there. But I get up there that morning, and there's 9 trucks. It was like 8 a.m. Like the rain had just stopped. I'm like, what the hell is going on? I couldn't believe it. And
you sent me a picture. One of those trucks had a STAGR hat in the dash.
Yeah.
My dad thought that was the funniest thing ever. They're like, oh, Adam's done with the podcast now.
That was the guy that got the deer. That was the guy that he got the deer. He hunts up there. But 9 trucks. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm not going to go up in here. Yep. They're all hunting rigs too. It wasn't any hikers, camo seat covers and stickers and everything else.
Yeah.
So I pulled out of there. I said, all right, well, I guess I'll go do some small little pushes for my mom and dad there, and went back to the house, got them lined up and got them set up, and they went up in there, and I did a little push to them, and no more than, 30 minutes later after that, my mom got a little 5-pointer. It was like 120-pound little 5-pointer.
Yep.
She's not too picky though. She just likes hunting. She's killed some really nice bucks for women in Vermont. She's killed a lot of nice bucks, but she's not too picky. But yeah, got her one on the first day there.
That thing looked like it had been rubbing its antlers since they first started to grow.
Weird, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The weirdest little set of horns on that thing. I don't even know how you would really explain it. Just everything's nubbed off and broke off. I think it was only a legal 3-pointer, but it had broken off the other
5
times.
points, yeah.
Well, it was a legal 4. She shot one of the forks off.
Oh, okay.
There's a bullet hole through the. Yep. She shot twice, and I think the first shot took the fork off that left side, and then she piled it up. But yeah, she got a deer, and then after that, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, I was up in the mountains all week, hunting up high. On Monday, there was actually a little snow way up about 3,000 feet. So I was like, I'm going to go up there and I'm going to find some snow. And I get way up there, and it's up in that shit that's, thicker than hell. And didn't proceed to do much up there. Mm-hmm. Saw a couple tracks way up there, but not enough. There wasn't enough snow that you could really do anything on. It was still loud, just a dusting. But, I don't know. Curiosity killed me. I had to go. I see the snow line from the bottom. I said, yeah, I got to go up there. So then that Tuesday, I hunted up high again, poked around, saw some sign. Mm-hmm. Not a lot of sign. I think I only saw a couple scrapes up on the mountain up there. But like we said, without the mass crop, that's a big beech nut mountain. If there's out beech nuts, there's not much going on.
Yeah.
So there really wasn't a lot of deer up there this year. Hunted hard all day, nothing that day, and then Tuesday night it started snowing real good. Got me real excited.
Oh yeah. I was not excited because I had to go to Massachusetts for work, and I was like, of all the days I have to go to Mass, why is it Wednesday?
Yeah, so Wednesday morning comes around, and it snowed pretty good all night. I think I woke up at 4:30 or 5 that morning, and there was a good 2 inches at my house. So you get up higher, there was a lot more. So I get up there, and that morning I immediately set out at first light. And kind of where I hunt up on this mountain, it's a big basin. There's a mountain on the right side, mountain on the left side, and the deer kind of intermingle between them. Real big country. It's huge up there, huge basin. Yep. So that morning, I usually like hunting that right side of the mountain more. Seems like there's more deer over there in most years. So I go up on that right side and zigzag, go up high, drop down low to the middle, just poking around, trying to find a track. I mean, people that track know on those days. And when I left the truck that morning, it was snowing like a bastard. It snowed like a bastard all day until the end of the day. Yep. And for people that track know on those days like that, the hardest thing to do is just to get a track to work with.
Yep.
But if you do get a track on those days where it's snowing like crazy, chances are you're probably going to kill that deer. It's just, you just got to get lucky to find a track or run into one or get one up out of its bed, because those does when it's snowing like that and locked down, those does typically aren't moving around much and with the way it sets up. But yeah, so I went up there on the right side, poked around all morning, never found anything. Get all the way in the back on that right side, and I'm working down this. I actually just hit onto a hiking trail, and I was poking down the hiking trail. I was going to drop down that trail and then go up on the other side. And I'm working down that trail, and all of a sudden I see a bunch of tracks, like every direction, just hit a pocket.
Wait, can I stop you for a second?
Yeah, go for it.
Wait, is this after you went to the truck real quick and took a break?
No.
Okay,
no, I'm
sorry.
still on that.
All right,
this is still morning. This is probably 10:30.
Okay.
So I'm just all the way in the back on that right side, way all the way in the back, and I was hitting a trail, and I was going to drop down that trail and zigzag my way back to the truck.
Okay.
So I hit that trail, and all of a sudden I hit a pocket of deer, and there's just tracks every direction, all fresh, snowing like crazy. I'm like, what's going on here?
Yep.
Looking around, and I don't know, probably no more than 30 seconds go by. I hear a stick crack to my left, and I see Brown bounding through the woods. So gun goes up, video camera's on, and I'm running the camera on over the shoulder this year.
Yep.
So camera goes on, safety off, guns up. I see Brown coming, jumps through this little green bush, pops out. There's a doe, probably, I don't know, 10 yards. She jumps out in the trail. We're locked eyes, staring at her. She looks at me. She looks back, and then she bolts to my right. She sees me. She blows at me once, which you can hear in the video. And at that moment, it has been snowing so hard, there was some snow on the camera. So there's not a whole lot. You couldn't see her there. So she blows by me, and then probably, I don't know, 6 seconds later, I hear another stick crack coming up the bank. Here comes this little forkhorn, mouth wide open, just dogged right out, chasing that doe around.
Yep.
And he stops, same spot she did, about 10 yards, and I'm staring at him for like, I don't know, probably 10 seconds till he figures out what I am, and then he bolts off to the right. But just a little forky. I don't know. He probably had 2-inch forks on him. Nothing I wanted to shoot.
Yeah.
And so that doe kind of looped out behind me, and he went to the right away. So I went and stood kind of between them just to see, because he just dropped down over the bank, and he gets down on the bank there, and he's just milling around, nose up in the air, because the wind was blowing in my face. He was looking around.
Yep.
And he actually turned and started coming back up towards me up that bank, because he knew that doe went that way. So he kind of worked his way around me, and I watched him for a minute, and I thought that was pretty cool. Wasn't going to leave her. He just dropped over the bank, trying to figure out what I was, and then immediately hooking back around to get onto her, and he was dogging her, mouth wide open. It was pretty cool. It's always cool to see him that close.
Yeah.
So I keep going down that trail after he works around me, and I go probably 500 yards, and there's another small buck track coming up the bank right there, just down. I know it wasn't that same group of deer, but there wasn't a whole lot of tracks at that point. I'd seen a couple doe dimples in the snow, but no big buck tracks at that point, other than the only fresh tracks I saw was that buck and that doe.
Yeah.
So I go down the trail 500 yards, see a small buck track cross, and it's kind of heading the direction I'm going to head anyway. So like, I'll just hop on this and see where it goes. And I follow that track probably 250 yards, and there's just a spike horn up feeding on a blowdown up on the side of the bank, and I see him as he sees me, and he bolts. And
nice.
Got some good videos, probably 75 yards from him, and he took off.
Yep.
Some good video of him barreling down through the woods. So after that, I kind of dropped down to the bottom of the basin and did some zigzags halfway back up, because I kind of came across that right side high. So I dropped down to the bottom, did some zigzags about halfway up, looking for tracks. Saw a couple other small doe tracks. I saw one track that looked decent size as far as like the stride and the stagger and everything on it, but it was just really filled in, and I couldn't really tell what direction it was going at that point. So I'm like, let's keep going. You know, if you got to get a fresh track on those days, because it's snowing an inch or plus an hour, you got to, you know.
Yeah.
So I worked my way back down, get down closer to the truck. And this is probably about noon now. I get back down to the parking lot, and this is like a wet, sloppy snow that day. And I was pretty wet at that point. My gloves and hat were all wet. The jacket was doing good, keeping me dry. It's the tracker's jacket we have here. And changed my gloves out, changed the hat out, get a snack. I had a pack of peanut butter crackers in the truck, so I brought with me. And for those that know me, I don't like bringing stuff in the woods. I don't bring a sandwich with me. I bring the minimum. I bring. I don't bring a pack. Bring my ammo. I bring a flashlight, a knife, my license, and a lighter sometimes. Which I'll probably get some shit for that for people. They say bring stuff in case you get stuck out there. But I just like to go as light as possible.
Yep.
I hate stuff clacking around. not a huge fan of fanny packs. But I did have my little camera pack with me because, like I said, I was running that over the shoulder. So that's where I put my knife, flashlight. But keeping it to an absolute bare minimum. I hate any extra weight is just slowing you down, in my opinion. But that's just me. So I get down there, change the gloves, change the hat, and I almost left. I almost was like, I'm gonna go check out another spot about 10 minutes from here, another mountain. But sitting there in the truck eating some peanut butter crackers, I'm like, nope, let's go do that whole left side of the basin. We just did the whole right side. There's usually more deer on the right side that I've found in previous years. I'm like, let's go to the left side. I still hunted through there a couple days before that on bare ground, saw a couple scrapes, a couple rubs. I'm like, let's go do that. So cross the river.
So what'd you say before you left the truck to yourself?
Oh, before I left the truck, I said, I'm either coming out with a deer at the end of the day or I'm coming out in the dark, regardless.
I like that.
So I was like, we're going to run it, whatever. We're going to run the legs off them and do everything we can to come out with a deer, come out in the dark. That's kind of how I go about it. So cross the river right there by the truck, get up on that left side of that basin, start trucking, going up and down, zigzagging, up a ridge, back down, just trying to cut a track. Just going balls to the walls, trying to cut a track, flying through the woods as fast as I can. That's what I do. I don't try to hunt my way through on days like that. I'm not trying to hunt my way through the woods because you're just holding yourself back if you don't have a track. I mean, obviously, it's a rut. Anything can happen. One can run by you, like that Forky ran that doe by me, obviously. But if my sole mission is to cut a track and kill a buck that day. So I'm flying up that mountain, back and forth. And I go probably 3 miles, and I'm about halfway down that basin, right about mid-level on the mountain. And I look down the trail, and I see there's this rub on a tree about the size of your thigh. Real big rub. And I get down there, and there's like no tracks or anything up to it, but it's probably only a few days old. So I lean my gun up next to it, and I take a picture of it. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, I'm like, where the hell is this deer today? Like, this rub's only a couple days old. Hammer rub. Like, where the hell is this guy today? Put the phone back in my pocket, and I looked down the trail about 60 yards because it was like right on the edge. It was about 20 yards in the woods from like the edge of an old hiking trail. So I look down the trail, and I see dimples across. I'm like, I better not be a squirrel. I get down there, and the snow had just stopped at this point. I get down there, it's about 60 yards. I look at the track. It's a big old foot on him. Long strides, stagger, everything. I'm like, son of a bitch. And there's not a speck of snow in that track. Like, I was excited. I'm like, finally. This is at 2:45. I'd been flying around. It'd been 13.1 miles I'd done up to that point to get that track. I've been flying all over the place. So I'm like, this is perfect. This deer is right here. The snow literally just stopped 20 minutes ago. There's not a speck of snow in that thing. Beautiful.
I just want to say, all your work at the gym and running, and I mean, Christ, I'd have been in the hospital after 13 miles.
It was a long day.
Were you fresh as a daisy then, or were you pretty?
I mean, you're starting to hurt towards the end of the day, and in that wet, deep snow, it wears you down. But I don't know.
You were okay. You got a little burst of adrenaline.
I was good. And then when you see a track like that, you're like, son of a bitch, it's go time. And like, it don't matter. You're coming out. You either come out with me or I'm going to run you till dark. So I hop on that track, and the whole time I'm like, man, this thing is right here. No
all by himself.
All by himself. Just slabbing across the side of this mountain. And I get on him, and immediately he's going real slow. He's zigzagging. He's laying down a scrape here, laying down a scrape there. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna catch him like right here. He's right here. Just kind of zigzagging, taking his time, moseying around the mountain, not doing anything too crazy. He's feeding on a little bit of blowdowns, nipping some mushrooms off, and I get up to one of his blowdowns. This is after he laid a couple scrapes down. I get up to one of these blowdowns where he was nipping buds or whatever he was taking off that blowdown. And I see tine marks in the snow, and I'm like, oh, this is a nice buck, real wide. I'm like, this is beautiful. Nothing gets me more excited than seeing tine marks in the snow. I know you want to see obviously scrapes and everything when you're on a track just for verification, but when you see tine marks in the snow and it's like a good one, you're like, oh my God. Your mind starts going. You're like, oh bastard, what does this thing got on his head? So I get on him, and we're slapping down the side of this mountain, and he's laying scrapes and going and going and going. And I don't know, we probably go a mile and a half. Just had him doing that, and the whole time, like, I'm right here. Like, I'm not flying on him. It's 2:45, and so like there's only 2 hours of daylight at that point. But he was moseying real slow at that point, so I wasn't flying on him by any means at that point. I was just trying to catch him. There's a good mix of woods, open spots, and little ridges and stuff that you can peek over and get at. I was trying to just catch him. That's
a good thing about that woods is there's plenty of like topography within the mountain to where you can like do some sneaking and peeking, and it's not all like huge open tracks.
No, those are some buck killing woods.
Yeah.
I love the way they set up in there. I feel like I understand it best, and so I've killed a lot of bucks in there in the past.
You videoing all the time?
Oh yeah. As soon as I cut, so I've been doing video all day and updates and everything, and of those other deer that morning. But as soon as I cut that track, crossing that trail there, GoPro went on. I had 3 batteries left at that point. They were all pretty full. I said, we're gonna run this till dark. We got 2 hours, so like, just gonna keep it running. It running. So turn it on. The whole video's going the whole time. So we go about 1.5 miles, like I said, just kind of moseying. It's probably 3:30 at this point.
Yep.
And he gets about halfway down that mountain, and the wind was kind of coming up the hill at that point, and he must have got a scent of a doe or something down low, because that thing went from moseying, poking around everything. He bangs a hard 90 and starts dogging off the mountain.
Wow.
Straight towards the back of the basin, straight down. I'm like, this is weird.
Away from your rig.
Away, as far away as you can get from that. But it was like a light switch. You just moseying, and then boom. He must have just got a scent or something, or had a thought. I don't know. But he was on a string, and he went on a string for probably a mile, all the way to the back, down low.
He felt a tingle that he couldn't explain.
Something, yeah, I don't know. He goes on a mission. I got this all on video. He drops over this bank that's literally vertical, probably like it's like 100 feet of just almost vertical down to the river, and he drops down to the river in the back.
Isn't that something though? Like, you know damn well he smelt the doe in heat.
I think that's what.
And how the hell can they smell that far away?
Just a particle in the air, you know.
I mean, back when you could use doe pee in Vermont, I'd dump gallons of it out, and it doesn't seem like they could smell that, but they could smell a real deer a long ways away.
Mm-hmm. So, there's something to that.
So,
sorry. No, you're good. Yeah, so he drops down to the basin, right down to the big river that runs through the bottom of it. He gets down by that river, crosses it, and immediately he picks up a doe right there, like right where he's heading to on a string, right to her. Boom, gets her up out of her bed, and it's kind of like a floodplain down there by the river. And he just proceeded to run her around and around and around that basin. And it took me probably a good 25, 30 minutes, all smoking fresh.
Yep.
But it probably took me a good 25, 30 minutes to figure out where he had left that, because that whole flat was just completely torn up, tracks everywhere.
Yep.
There's one point where I think he got up on her and bred her, because there's hair, there's a little speck of blood, he was on her, and he wasn't going to leave her alone. So they do that for however long. I must have just missed it. Like, if you would have caught him there, it would have been awesome.
Yeah.
Just chasing that doe around on that little flat. But finally figure it out, and they immediately shoot up this ridge kind of towards the right side of the mountain. And they get up on that ridge. They go straight up the bank, vertical. It's immediately at the top of the bank, lay down where they can look back down to that basin that I was just in, where they just ran around in.
Yep.
So I got the video going the whole time, trying to figure out, decipher the tracks. Yep, here they go up the bank. I get up the bank. As soon as I get up there, bounding tracks out of the bed. Shit. Like, they must have just seen me come to that. It's so steep, and they could probably see me down in there. I don't know if I jumped them when I immediately got down in that basin, or I mean on that little floodplain, or if they just heard me coming up the bank. Like, they can see down there, but the way the wind was blowing and stuff, I think it was when I was coming up the bank, probably made some noise, and they heard it coming up, because it's pretty steep. So I was grabbing on the twigs and little whips and stuff, trying to pull myself up the bank. But I get up there, and there's 2 beds, big old buck bed, stink, tarsal, everything, and then the doe bed, and they're bounding tracks out. I'm like, okay. And then this is at like, I think this is at 4 o'clock.
Yep.
So there's about.
Oh, wow, you're running out of time.
Yeah, so I think sunset was like 4:40 something that day.
Yep.
And it's been snowing all day. It's cloudy. It's starting to get a little, it's getting harder to see. So typically you want to give them 30 minutes, have a sandwich, as they say, or whatever, and let them chill out. But with that little bit of light left, and had the camera going, the camera light was getting thin, I said, if I give them another 30 minutes, I'm going to have 10 minutes to work here, and that just ain't enough. So I'm like, we're going to push it. Made that decision. I'm like, I'm either going to blow them out, or I'm going to catch them, and hope that a little bit of luck's on my side to catch them. So I get on those running tracks, walking through there, bounding. And I get to a little bit of a high spot on the ridge, where it just drops down a little bit towards the tail end of that ridge. As soon as I get to that high spot and start looking down, I see something move about 60 yards out in front of me. And it's just barely the right side of a deer's ass cheeks, just to the right. I can't see the head or anything like that. So I immediately drop down to my knees, and I'm looking down there, pull my binos out, I get them in my jacket, just a little set of them. Pull them out. Binos are all fogged up from being so wet all day. Get those cleaned up. I look through the binos. I look down there and I see a doe's half the doe's face. She kind of popped her head out around the tree where her ass was.
Yep.
I see doe's face, no beam sticking up. I'm like, he's got to be right here. So I'm looking around, look to the left, nothing. I can't see him. Looking beyond her. Don't see him. And then I look to my right, about 30 yards from her, but about 15 yards closer to me, and there he is. He's kind of using a tree too to stay behind. And I see half of his face and a big main beam swinging out. He's staring right at me.
Yep.
And at this point, I wasn't sure if he was facing me and looking at me, or if it was he was facing away from me and looking back over his back.
Yep. How far away?
Probably 45, 50 yards.
Really?
Right there.
Close.
Yeah, he was closer than she was.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yep, that's him. Double check, verified. Yep, big old main beam swinging out. He's standing there looking at me.
Yep.
Pull the gun up, flick the safety off. And he was kind of under a hemlock tree, so it's getting pretty dark at this point. It's like it was like 4:05 or something, but under a hemlock, clouds and stuff, it's getting dusky. So I put it what I think center mass, however he's standing. Obviously, if you want to make the most ethical shot you can make, but when you got snow and you're tracking, you can use if you can get him bleeding on that.
Oh yeah,
on snow, you're gonna find that deer. And so I just put it center mass where I thought was center mass, and pulled up and pulled the trigger, and he hunches up, doe barrels over the bank. And instead of going away from me like I think he was, he turns and he comes back and cross in front of me like 25, 30 yards, bounding.
Wow.
And there's this one big opening that he goes through. And as soon as he hits that opening, I gave him another one, and that took him out right in the boiler room right there. But
well, if you ran ahead a little bit too, didn't you? Because if you didn't run ahead, I don't think you would have had such a good shot.
Because there's that kind of lip, and I was just back from that little high spot, so there's a little lip right there. So I shot over that high spot, hit him. I get up on my feet, get up to that high spot, and he comes bounding across in front of me, and then I line him up through that big opening, shoot, and he goes over the bank.
Yeah. Caught him just in the right spot.
Yep, and then ran up to that lip of that bank and shot another one at him through the thick shit as he's going down through there, and didn't hit him on that one. So at that point, I'm like, what just happened? I can't believe that just happened. So I reload the gun, immediately get on the trail, and as soon as he started dropping over that bank, there's blood everywhere.
Yep.
Coming out the back, coming out both sides, just spraying. I'm like, oh, okay.
I
hit him. I'm good. And you'll see, and like I said, the video's going the whole time. Everything that's happened up to this point is all on video, which we got coming for you. Blood every direction. And he goes probably 100 yards, 120 yards. I couldn't believe he went that far.
Yeah.
Just spraying blood everywhere. And found him piled up right back down. He died in that little flood basin that he was chasing her on, which is pretty cool.
Oh, it was.
It was
so
almost like he did
almost
like a half circle after I shot him, dropped down the bank and hooked to the left, back towards that.
That's awesome. At least he got his last little fun in though.
He did. Yeah, I think he definitely did.
Passed his genetics along, and that. So what did it end up being for a rack?
Yeah, so I get down there to him, and it's just beautiful 8-point.
Yeah.
Big rack, my best buck to date.
Big old brow tines.
Yep. Yeah, we'll post a picture of it on the page there. Super long brow tines. He's an older buck. I think he's the oldest probably buck I've killed in Vermont. I bet he's at least 4.5, 5.5 years old.
Don't get any better in Vermont, really. I mean, it really doesn't, especially the way you got him too. So
I thought he was going to go close to 200. He ended up going 182, clean dressed.
Yep.
Big old body on him. Big mature Vermont buck. But yeah, I get up to him and proceed to freak out a little bit. Called my dad up and had him on his way up to him, help me, and I think I FaceTimed you and.
Yeah, we had shitty service. There
was a lot of service.
I wanted to hoot and holler, but
yeah, no, I couldn't be happier with that buck for Vermont deer, and what an awesome hunt, tracking him down like that, cutting his track at 245, and I think when I got up to him it was probably 420. So
hell of a drag out too, right?
It was about 2.8 miles.
Jeez.
So when all was said and done, when I killed him, so I was 13-1 when I cut his track. I think I killed him. I was about 15 or something, high 14, 15, and then it was like over 17 or 18. Almost, it was like 17 something miles on the day. By the time we got him out of the woods, it was.
I talked to you that night, and you weren't even making sense anymore.
Yeah,
you were speaking in tongues,
night,
and I'm like, I'm looking for advice on Gandalf, and you're like, I can't talk hunting anymore today.
Yeah, I think that's what I said. I'm all deer hunted out today. We'll talk tomorrow.
I'm hunted out today.
But yeah, what an awesome. It's just you couldn't ask for anything better when it comes to tracking bucks in Vermont, and
Jesus. And you got your absolute money's worth that day. You saw some beautiful, and you had passed up another buck earlier in the week.
Yeah, on that Sunday of that first. I was up in that same piece of woods and just on bare ground and happened across a 6-pointer and a decent, good Vermont 6-pointer. And I sat there, safety off on him for like 30 seconds. And I'm like, boy, do I shoot this deer? Do I not? And it was right on the fence of passing.
You were kind of regretful the next day.
I was very regretful because I'm like, we got snow coming Wednesday. We got big bucks on camera in New Hampshire and Maine. Like,
yeah,
what were you doing? Get punched that Vermont tag. What are you thinking? Yeah. And then
you did the right thing. Everything happens for a reason, man.
Exactly.
Especially what about that buck in Maine, that 4-pointer? I mean, that might happen for a reason. Maybe you're going to go up this week or next week and kill a giant up there.
Yeah, no, it's God's plan. Whatever works, man. Whatever we got lined up. But yeah,
I don't know how the hell you just keep doing it like that every year, though. It's like you only had one day to do it, like really good killing day, and you did it.
Yeah, so. I'm glad it got done on that day, because that next day it kind of got crunchy. That snow froze up overnight, and But yeah, no, I just happened upon that track on that Wednesday when it was snowing like crazy, which is half the that's the biggest battle on those super snowy days, just getting a track, and we did and made the most of it, and I couldn't be happier with it. But
no, that's awesome.
What an awesome hunt, and like I said, we got everything was recorded, over the shoulder video. It's a beautiful.
You showed me a little tiny clip, and I'm hooked, man. I can't wait.
Yeah, no, we're gonna get that edited and get that out. It's gonna be a awesome little film. And
we had a plan going into this year. We're both gonna run video, and it's just been slow up to this point. I'm like, God, I'm sick of lugging this thing around, and is it a curse?
Yeah.
And it's not a curse because as you'll find out in the next podcast, we're sitting on 2 really good videos right now. So
yeah.
But no, and then your dad ended up getting a beautiful 8 a couple nights later, right?
Yep. 2 nights later, he got an awesome 8-pointer we had on camera, and he was running around, and actually did some pushes to him that day, and nothing with that, and he set up that night, and he got a beautiful 8-pointer.
So we've been cutting the deer up for you guys. Me, my father-in-law, myself, and my wife have been cutting deer up for you guys. And my father-in-law was like, yeah, hell yeah, we'll do it. No problem. I was like, well, you're cutting deer up for the Lamsons. I said, we're going to be cutting some fucking deer up. I said, but now we're on like deer 8 right now that we've done for the year. It's between myself and you guys.
Yeah.
And they're starting to wear down a little bit.
Yeah, I had enough of it at this point.
Yeah, I caped your deer out. Was it yesterday?
Right?
Oh no, day before yesterday.
Yeah.
But yesterday I actually cut the got all the meat off it. I couldn't get over and I'm a guy that shoots little bucks usually. I couldn't get over the back straps on that thing. Just freaking long and thick. I mean the tenderloins on that deer are the size of the back straps I usually get. So.
Oh, shit.
And then I did see where, like, maybe a few years ago, there was like somebody might have got a crack at him.
Like a graze wound or something?
It was a perfect hole, but it was like right in above the spine. So maybe somebody
just took the top of the spine off?
Yeah, I don't know, but it's how close it came to not being there. But
right? Yeah.
But you hit it perfect behind the shoulder, and then a little bit back, but
yeah.
It was. I mean, you hit it both times you shot there. So
yeah, that third shot I didn't touch him, but yeah, first shot hit left ass cheek, hit that femoral artery.
Yeah, you hit that artery, and then the second one you tucked it right behind the shoulder.
And then you say the bullet was tucked in on that right side in the bone or something, part of the bullet or something?
Yep, the opposite shoulder. Wow. Yeah. My father-in-law is lugging that around. This is so cool.
Ansel. We'll have to talk a little bit about Ansel in the next podcast when we talk about Gandalf to introduce him before we drop the video.
Ansel's going to be a YouTube star here.
He is. Oh, what a guy. What a guy.
Yeah, he's one in a million. He's a great guy. So him and my son bailed me out on Gandalf. So we'll get into that next time. But So what's your plans for the rest of the season?
Yeah, so after I got mine, I went up to... I took a couple days off to get some work stuff done. Tried to did some pushes to my dad and stuff. And then that Friday, which was a couple days ago, went up to Maine, slept in the truck, got on a track that Saturday morning. And then just about immediately Saturday morning, old Greggy here gives me a call, and we'll talk more about that. But Gandalf was down, so I messed around up there for a little bit and then shipped it back.
You couldn't stay focused, you said.
I couldn't stay.
I was telling him, I said, keep hunting, kill him. And he's like, I can't focus.
It was crazy that morning. And when I'm cranking through the woods looking for a track in the morning, like I'll pull out my phone, and if someone texts me or whatever, if I'm moving around or whatever, And you and I were talking that morning. We're like, how are we going to kill this thing? We're talking, what did we do? We said we're going to line up some pushes, right?
We were planning the following day. You were coming to New Hampshire. We were going to
try to
push
him out. Yeah.
Because my initial theory was he was down in the lowlands by the fields.
Yeah.
And we had a little strategy. So.
Yeah. And then no more than 30 minutes, you give me a call. But we'll talk more about that in the next podcast. But wow, what an awesome couple days. Oh my God.
It ain't over yet though. We got some time.
No, we still got, it's the 22nd now. We got no snow this week now. It's warming up to rain, but the following week there's a chance of snow. Yep. And we got till the 9th, right, for New Hampshire rifle.
I think it's no, I think it's only the 4th or 5th.
Is it?
Yeah,
I think you're right. Yeah.
And then we got Vermont muzzle, but neither one of us can shoot a buck there. And then we got I got a doe tag in Mass and 2 buck tags in Mass you can get 2 bucks down there, and you're thinking about shipping it down there.
Late season muzzleloader, yeah.
So I don't know how much more hunting I'll do. I'm pretty god darn thankful, and but you can hit it hard for a while yet, and then
track some nice New Hampshire bucks the last couple days. Caught up to them, up each of them, which I said before. But
it's probably a blessing in disguise we couldn't do a podcast up in Maine because we were in rare form.
We had a lot of hating us that day. we had a little vodka soda going, a little stressed out from the heat.
Out from the heat, and just we both know though we can be depressed and still we know it's gonna.
You got to get out there.
Yeah, you're sitting there thinking it's never ever gonna happen, and you're watching guys like Connor Schlong freaking drop monsters every day.
Dude. He had an awesome, awesome
it's
first couple weeks.
You just start thinking it's never gonna happen. And it's but then it does. So anyways,
that's kind of the biggest takeaway from my deer this year is just keep on pushing, man. I went into it with the mindset I was either going to get a deer that day or I was going to come out in the dark, and that's, I think, what you got to do. That's what I've done.
Remember Laney at Huntstock said when he used to track a buck that he pretended he hadn't eaten in a week or something.
Yeah.
Or, he just put himself in that mindset where he had to get that deer. He tried a more primitive mindset. Mm-hmm. There's something to be said for that. But I've developed a theory after listening to your story where that buck smelled that doe a mile away. I know what I'm doing next year.
What's that?
I'm going to somehow get a pet deer.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to dress it all in orange, and then I'm just going to lead it around the woods during the rut.
I
don't think Fish and Game will really... I think they might frown on it, but...
Nah, I think you're good.
I mean, I think outside the box, man.
It's just
Let
crazy.
them come to me.
It's crazy how, I'm sure that deer keep tabs on where... Obviously, they keep tabs on where the does are and stuff and where they left them last, but it was the attitude change in that deer's track, going from he just meandering, laying scrapes, slow as could be, just poking, eating, light switch.
You knew, right when that thing was meandering at the beginning,
I thought I was going to catch him right there because there was no snow in the track and he was going so slow. And the whole time my head's out, I'm looking like I wasn't flying right off. I didn't start flying until he started flying down towards that.
Yep.
And then I started ripping.
Well, I tracked one Thursday for 2 or 3 miles, and that thing never even made a iota of a turn.
Yeah,
just never stopped.
And that's it. That's most of them are like that. Like that one I tracked yesterday in New Hampshire. I didn't catch up with him. I cut his track from the road at 8 that morning, and I didn't catch up with him and freshen him up till 2 because he was just flying. He checked a couple signposts, and then he found a doe's track, and he was going so hard on that doe track that he found. It was pretty funny. You see him going, and then you get off the track 20 yards to the left, and you hit the brakes, and you could see where he's like, oh, shit, and then boom, bound, back to the doe track, follow it. And he did that probably 15 times where he'd get off a little bit and then freak out and then do a loop and come back. And
just using his nose crazy. More than anything.
Exactly, yeah. Just looking for does, and that's definitely what they're doing right now. And
wow.
I'm thankful that buck that I got had hooked up with a doe down there because, he was always going slow at first, and I think he was going to lay down, but when he got that scent, he was going. He had it in his mind, and he linked up with her, and they immediately bedded down after they did their thing.
Yeah, it's a game of inches. If you'd have caught them in a different spot, it would have been a different... yesterday, you should have had that buck dead. You just kept catching him in the wrong spot.
Jumped him 5 times. That doe saved him yesterday, that buck I was on. She was on her stuff. He was kind of dumb, but there was 2 instances where I could have got a crack at the doe. If he was standing where the doe was...
He'd have
been dead, but she was off to the right in an opening, and he's off to the left behind a boulder the first time, and they're one bound over the edge, but I could have got a crack if he was where she was. And there was another time down through the open hardwood, she's in an opening, and he's behind a pile of whips, so it's geez. Yeah. But that's a game. Sometimes you're catching them, sometimes they're catching you, and the only thing you can do is keep going.
Watching you walk up to that deer when the emotions are coming out, and it's 3... It's 3 weeks of hard ass hunting is coming out in your emotions. You just earned that deer. That just goes to show when it's hot and crappy out there, you just gotta keep plugging away and keep keep out in the woods is the main thing. Just stay in the woods. Like, so
it's the rut. Yeah. I mean, you can get down and stuff, but when it's a rut, one can come running by you at any moment, you know, you just got to stay out there. And then when you do get the conditions, you get the snow and make the hay when the sun shines. And should we wrap it up there and then come back to that?
The next podcast, we're going to be drinking a few beers and tell the story of Gandalf.
Sounds good. And that's a 3-year story all in one, wrapped up.
Definitely.
Dwindling him down to this year and figuring out where he is, and there's a lot to that. So
awesome.
We'll talk about that one on the next one. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll get this right out to you.